There was a time when people didn't know Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father. Yeah, that seems pretty shocking now, but there's a reason this is one of the most well-known scenes in film history, and that's because despite not being known for this, Star Wars actually has some peak plot twists. Today we are looking at the 20 best plot twists in Star Wars, starting with, at number 20, Boba Fett surviving. Despite Boba Fett being rumored to survive the Sarlacc pit by fans for years, it was still an incredible surprise to see his first appearance in the timeline after Return of the Jedi being such a good one. Although those stormtroopers that got the John Wick treatment aren't probably quite as excited as I was, and this is one of the many examples where this moment isn't necessarily a plot twist in the story, but it definitely is for the audience. Next up at 19, Yoda is a Jedi Master. It's always funny when you're watching The Empire Strikes Back, and then all of a sudden Luke's journey to meet a legendary Jedi named Master Yoda is interrupted by a little green frog addicted to, but then you find out that the frog is Yoda and that he was testing Luke out the whole time, which is pretty interesting. At 18 is Echo survives. While this wasn't that shocking to many people, for me personally this blew my mind in 2020 because Echo, who was one of my favorite clone troopers, tragically died on Lola Sayu in 20 BBY, which was very sad to me when I was younger. Speaking of clone troopers, at 17 is Crosshair removed his biochip. Throughout all of Season 1 of The Bad Batch, we see Crosshair working with the Empire to hunt down the traitorous Clone Force 99, but in a shocking twist that made the finale stand out is the revelation that he did remove his biochip and decided to serve the Empire willingly, which is far worse than being scientifically forced to do it.
I agree, bad idea.
At 16, Lando betrays Han. While Empire Strikes Back does have a far better plot twist right after this in the movie, which we'll look at soon enough, this one really made that punch from Han feel well earned later. Not only was this very shocking and unexpected, but it also made Darth Vader a cooler villain than he already was.
We would be honored if you would join us.
At 15, Darth Maul survived. Nowadays, it's pretty well known that old man Maul survived being cut in half, but there was a time where he didn't even live long enough to receive the Unk status. Considering how victorious of a moment it was when Obi-Wan cut him down in The Phantom Menace, many people could not imagine him returning, but alas, with a free pass to skip leg day and his intense hatred of Obi-Wan, he was able to make it through 12 years in a cave. Next is Order 66 at number 14. So in 2005, when people were getting ready to see how the Jedi Order would be destroyed by Palpatine, it was a shocking surprise to see how a clone contingency order exterminated the Jedi in one fell swoop. This is actually one of many spots on this list from the prequels where things played out way differently than fans would have expected, which raises up the interesting question on how people thought this would turn out before Episode 3 came out. One way is that Darth Sidious controlling the Separatists could have overcome the Republic and then recruited Darth Vader as his new apprentice. But at 13, Cere Junda of Jedi Fallen Order. And as loved of a character as Cere Junda was in this game, it was shocking to find out that she actually betrayed her apprentice Trilla and failed to protect her during Order 66, and then used the dark side, which is why the Second Inquisitor wants revenge on her. Because God forbid someone actually make a mistake in their life, but overall I think these were some incredible games. The Jedi Survivor series really is one of the best Star Wars stories in recent years. At 12, his Death Star weakness was intentional. For years, people thought that the Death Star having an easily exploitable weakness in plain sight was a massive plot hole, but then in Rogue One, we find out that Galen Erso, scientist on the Death Star and father of Jyn Erso, planted this design flaw to allow a way to destroy this technological terror. At 11, Ahsoka leaves. When introducing a prominent Jedi character like Ahsoka in the Clone Wars, who doesn't appear in Revenge of the Sith, you kind of establish that she has to die at some point in the series. It therefore came as a surprise in Season 5 when we found out the actual truth, that Ahsoka was convicted of bombing the Jedi Temple, and then after seeing that the Jedi were fine with kicking her out of the Order and allowing the death sentence on her with no sympathy, she decided to leave. This allowed her character to be further expanded upon, which was
a surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
But enough of these really good plot twists. What is the worst plot twist in Star Wars? Well, that actually goes to Rey being a Palpatine, because by 2019, people had theorized that Rey could be the daughter of Obi-Wan or Han Solo, or even Luke Skywalker. But something tells me no one had suggested that Rey is the daughter of a clone of Palpatine theory, and this twist doesn't feel like it pays anything off or adds much to the story, considering Rey hasn't even met Palpatine up to this point, ignoring Snoke, that is. At 10 is the clones helped the Jedi. One thing that people thought about the prequels when first hearing about the Clone Wars and A New Hope from 1977 was that the clone army fought against the Jedi in a war, but it was surprising to find out in 2002 for audiences that in fact the clones were on the side of the Jedi against the droids. It was also shocking that the Empire is the Republic rather than an outside force that came in to invade it like the Yuuzhan Vong. Going over to the sequels, at 9 is Snoke's death, where everyone was expecting by the second film of the sequel trilogy that the movies would play out as a mirror of the originals, with Snoke and Kylo representing the Emperor and Apprentice trope. However, it was a shock when The Last Jedi doubled down on Kylo Ren being the big bad, where he killed Snoke and became the supreme leader of the First Order. At 8 is Clone Trooper Friendly Fire. Here we see friendly fire between the 501st and 212th, which revealed a dark truth. Pong Krell ordered clones on Umbara against other clones on Umbara and was a betrayer of the Republic working for Count Dooku. This was the first time we saw a Jedi who turned to the dark side in the Clone Wars series, which, considering its 7 seasons and 133 episodes, is pretty significant. At 7 is Darth Revan Identity, even though I haven't played Knights of the Old Republic because I'm not an old head like some of you guys. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure that game's a classic, but I was able to deduce from the internet that this twist was so good because you play as a Republic soldier with amnesia during the war between the Republic and Sith. And then 2/3 into the game, you find out you are Darth Revan, the former Dark Lord of the Sith, who introduces the questions as to whether Revan is truly redeemed, or will reclaim his dark throne. At 6 is the Jedi Temple was built on a Sith shrine. The Jedi believe that by building their temple on top of the Sith shrine, Palpatine knew this, and he wanted the Jedi Grand Temple so that he could reclaim the Sith Shrine and use the Virgins to increase his power. This is part of why Palpatine is such an unusually strong Force wielder. At 5, Rey is nobody. Unlike the idea that Rey is the granddaughter of Palpatine, Rey being nobody actually pays off the mystery from The Force Awakens as to who her parents are. This felt refreshing too, as I honestly didn't care about her parents, I just wanted to see an interesting story, and this was a pretty unique way to take it. At 4, Leia is Luke's sister. This twist is not revealed in some shocking scene by any means, but still, it works because it completely redefines the relationship between these characters in the original trilogy. Not to mention that kissing scene.
I can't watch anymore.
And I know this is kind of bad timing, but here is the Christian advice of this video. If you want to get back to the main video, then you can skip to this time right here. Now today I did want to talk about the Book of Job because I found it interesting, the idea that that story where basically God and the devil have a deal where the devil is allowed to take away the wife and children and land of Job, who is an extremely God-fearing man. So he basically loses everything in his life, and instead of blaming God, he doesn't, and he still loves God. And it's basically an embodiment of what a truly faithful servant of the Lord should do, because while most people hopefully aren't going to have all of that happen to them, when things do happen in our lives, and everyone will go through terrible things where, like, possibly things that really define you, that are extremely important to you, are lost, you can't blame God for it. And also you have to understand God's plan for you in your life is even better than what you already had and than what you could imagine, as is the case with Job, who ends up getting more land and a better family after this experience. But getting back to the video, just a quick reminder that you can leave any video suggestions you have down below for anything you want me to rank or analyze or explain from Star Wars. Down for any of it if I find it interesting. But yeah, let's get back to the video. At 3 is Bode Twist from Jedi Survivor. Even though Jedi Fallen Order had a great twist, the following game was even more intense, with the turn of Bode, who killed Jedi Master Cordova, and this led to the death of Cere Junda when the Empire arrived on Jedha. He did this all to protect his daughter Kata from the Empire by claiming Tanalorr for his own. 2. Andor Can't Swim. Everything in the Narkina 5 prison sequences in Andor Season 1 was already the best parts of the show. This line, however, was absolutely devastating, as we went this whole arc believing that Kino Loy would escape with Cassian and the others, just to discover that this was not the case. But not only the best plot hole in Star Wars, but also in all of movie history. Debatably, I mean, I'd say the twist in Toy Story 2 with Buzz Lightyear's father was pretty good also, but at number 1, Darth Vader is Luke's father. Here we have a classic subversion of expectations, where the last person the audience would ever expect to be Luke's father, Darth Vader, the villain of the movies, is revealed to be him, especially with how well A New Hope introduced the mystery of Luke Skywalker's father. This makes the reveal here especially interesting. But in conclusion, even though they are somewhat sparsely used, plot twists do still remain a very integral part of the Star Wars movie culture, and do make a lot of these stories even better and more engaging than they would have been otherwise. But let me know in the comments which one of these you found the most shocking, and if it isn't number 1, then congratulations, you have an opinion that is different from mine, so, I'm not gonna get mad at you. But anyway, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this one, then you might also like this video, where I looked at the worst plot holes in Star Wars ranked, which you can watch if you click right here. But yeah, see ya.